This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to on our Infinity War Spectacular episode 211 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
And I was almost rooting for him to get all the Infinity Stones. As much as I
Wow!
See, even Chris Pratt gets confused between me and Chris Hemsworth.
However, in the press conference where there was all the superheroes there, my eyes just kept going to Thor.
Well, in full disclosure, how can you not look at Chris Hemsworth?
That's a fact.
The answers on Facebook were off the charts. Gotta see this, gotta see that, and my answer was, well, you gotta watch Howard the Duck, or you'll be really lost.
Oh yeah, Cap and his shield. Those two. That's like milk and cookies, right? You know what? And somebody else that might have been confused by this movie is Hasbro.
Joe, tell us all about what we saw in that last image.
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets Lab. It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Neverland that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Hey, let's just warn you up front that this is going to be our big Infinity War Spectacular episode, and this is your first of many spoiler warnings to come.
Attention, Skywalkers! Spoilers ahead!
Warning!
Attention, Skywalkers! Spoilers ahead!
Warning!
Spoilers ahead! Spoilers ahead!
However, I do have a feeling that most of you have already seen the film once, twice, thrice, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So if you have, great, continue on. If you haven't, press pause now. Now with that, we can move forward and welcome you to
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, but everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah.
Excelsior! It's time to give a big Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers who watch the show every week. We are live on Facebook right now, so thank you, facehuggers, for watching. And if you were watching us live on Facebook this week, you got a little unboxing of an Oppo suit that Richard is wearing right now. It's the Marvel Oppo suit with some amazing comic book panels on it. It's so colorful and it's amazing.
Yeah, this is the suit that's labeled Marvel Comics because they have other suits. They have a Captain America suit. They have all these kinds of suits. But if you're interested, where's the box?
Right
this one here is the Marvel Comics edition that I'm wearing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, tied in edition.
So thank you for watching this week. And if you are listening to us later, then welcome. We love everyone who listens wherever they listen. And we are at Skywalking Pod on Twitter. We just love it when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom. And be sure to head over to youtube.com and subscribe so that you can get some of our other unboxing videos, some of our journeys through the parks and press conferences that we do for movies. So please head over there to youtube.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland to subscribe.
All right, now we are recording from Long Beach, California on May the 2nd, 2018. Minnie, or Mickey, how many more days until Solo, A Star Wars Story?
It's 11:04. Good morning, pal.
Thank you, Mickey. That's not the question I asked.
No,
though.
it wasn't. I'm not sure why he didn't answer your question.
You know what? I'll go ahead and answer it for him. It's only 23 more days until Solo, A Star Wars Story.
Woohoo! Woo!
Boy, it feels like we were just here only 5 months ago.
Right? Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. And now we have another Star Wars thing coming this fall. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, but it's super fun.
Yeah, Star Wars Resistance. Oh, how excited are we for this?
We are.
Now, I knew we weren't going to go between Solo and Episode 9 with no Star Wars.
Right.
That just wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
How long have we wanted an X-Wing Squadron
Right?
series, whether it be live action or animated? But now we have Resistance. This takes place right before Force Awakens, so it'll be great to see the lead up to the big battle at Starkiller Base.
I agree.
And the further antics of Poe Dameron. And maybe Captain Phasma will get more than 6 minutes of screen time.
Well, I hope so, but we're going to find out. Now, we were originally going to record this episode on May 1st, but our house decided that we had not been paying enough attention to it, and it wanted our attention, and it decided to spring a leak in the crawl space underneath our house. So, we did not record yesterday, needless to say.
We were all set up,
Yep.
all ready to go.
Yep.
And then our refrigerator started making noises. We looked down in the underneath the raised foundation, and hey, got a little swamp going on down there.
Yeah, there was like a little leak.
There's a little Jedi Master raising X-Wings down there. Since our notes all correspond to May the 1st, let's tell you what happened on May the 1st, this day in history, going back to 1991.
Yes. So May 1st, 1991, Timothy Zahn renews the public's passion for Star Wars with the release of Heir to the Empire.
And fandom went crazy.
Yeah.
Makes #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. And this is the book that almost got me fired from my Hilton job because I took the Hilton shuttle van down to Barnes & Noble when I wasn't supposed to.
Oops.
And there were a lot of customers waiting for some service, but you know what? It was the first day of release. You know what? Fire me. I wanted this book. Further adventures of our Star Wars heroes.
Amazing.
Star Wars had been asleep really since 87 after the release of Star Tours in January at Disneyland. Star Wars said, all right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be back in 4 years.
Wow.
And it came back with a blast.
Yeah.
With Heir to the Empire. The book with so many characters that we can't pronounce. How do you pronounce these names?
Joris Saboth.
Yeah. Don't know.
Luke. Although that's later. But yeah. And Salamari, which is what I call those things.
Right.
But you guys know what we're talking about. Yeah, consequently for me, I believe that summer or the summer after that was the summer I got into Star Wars and just rewatched them over and over again at home. And then consequently, I went to my library and saw these books on the shelf. This one, and I believe the second one was just coming out. So I saw this one on the shelf and I picked it up and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like it just furthered the story of Star Wars and opened a whole new world. And I was already a big bookworm. So the fact that they have books about my movie passion was just, it blew my mind.
So would you say that this was your entry into Star Wars, or were you already there and this just really ignited it in a big way?
That second one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know,
so
I didn't. Why did I not know this?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I saw the movies. My cousins were over and they were like, let's watch Return of the Jedi. And I had no idea what that was, but I knew how to find the movie in our VHS collection and put it in and watch it, and I fell in love. And then they were like, oh, well, you have to see the other two. So we had this big binge watch of Star Wars. So yeah, and then that summer I just watched them over and over and over again. I got my friends into Star Wars. Like I would have them come over, you got to see this. And then I found that book, I think at the end of the summer or maybe the next year. So that for me really, like you said, ignited the spark that lit the fire.
And 27 years later, it's still burning.
Yes.
All right, now let's switch over to Disney history.
Yes.
What happened on this date, May the 1st, 1989?
Well, the 5th Disney theme park opens with Disney MGM Studios in Orlando, Florida. Amazing.
Now, I know we've been to Hollywood, Disney's Hollywood Studios,
Yes.
but have you ever been to the MGM Studios?
Yes, and it's the same park. It
Right.
just changed its name. But yes, I have. In fact, I believe it was brand new when I went there. I think we went in 92 or something. So I went there within about 3-4
Okay.
years.
Because in 2007, that's when it rolled over to Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
Instead of the MGM. Why MGM? Disney, do you not know of your immense library? Why do you need to go to MGM for more content?
I think they wanted that old Hollywood feel to it.
Did they not have anyone in their research department? Disney, you've been going on since the 1950s, 30s, way back.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
but you know what? Before we move on,
okay.
How much was a ticket price back in 1989 to get into MGM Studios, Disney's MGM Studios?
Okay, Skywalker's guess. 1 park, 1 day, because I can see the show notes, so I can't guess. Cat, no.
Bloodgood says $150.
You could probably get into all 4 parks that way. That's your hint.
And
35.
Get a good hotel room.
Okay, Christopher Marino says 35. Actually,
All
lower.
right. You know, let's just go ahead and say it would cost you a mere $29.
$29. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
1 park, 1 day.
All right. Well, don't get too comfortable with the name Disney's Hollywood Studios, because I think as of later on this year, it's just going to be Disney's Star Wars / Marvel Land.
Well, Pixar too. It's
And
got the
Pixar,
Toy
yes.
Story.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it'll be Disney's Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar Land.
How about Disney's acquired IP land?
Underneath that, in small print, it'll say, and the Muppets. Give the Muppets some love.
Incidentally, I'm going to give you a little preview of her universe book. It's Your Universe. And we both read it, and it's amazing. I cried 5 times. But Disney's Hollywood Studios is kind of her park, and there's several reasons why. So that's just your little nugget. Go read that book.
Yeah, you may hear more about that next week.
Yes, that book comes out May
8th. Yes. All right, but now let's move on to this very episode where we're going to talk once again with our good friend Joe Decklemeier from ScreenRant and that hashtag show. Now, he was with us on our Black Panther spectacular episode, Guardians of the Galaxy. The man knows his stuff.
Yes.
And we're going to be breaking down and going through Avengers Infinity War. So let's go ahead and roll yet another spoiler alert.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
All right. Now, along with that, we have shout-outs and
in our things we want to share, we're going to give you guys an Infinity War comic book primer.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
Okay, we're going to roll it back all the way to 1991, consequently the same year that Timothy Zahn released Heir to the Empire. Now, this is when a 6-part Marvel comic series was released called Infinity Gauntlet. Now, if you had read this comic back then and need a refresher, or if you're just wondering how this all began and how we have this movie now called Infinity War, well, here is our Infinity War crash course.
Now, to use the same source as producer Kevin Feige, see the 2014 Infinity War Omnibus written by creator Jim Starlin. Now, once again, just to forewarn you, there's not only going to be Infinity War spoilers coming ahead, but there might be Infinity War Part 2 spoilers coming ahead.
That's if they use this as their backbone.
They're using different elements from the comic series into the movies.
Right.
So
we'd expect.
If you want to go in cold,
yeah,
when Infinity War comes out in 1 year and 1 date, then you might want to fast forward this part as well.
Yeah, probably 20 minutes or so.
So there's spoilers within spoilers.
Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Okay, so there are some differences in between the film Infinity War and this Infinity Gauntlet 1991 Marvel comic series. So, Richard, why don't you tell them?
All right, now, in the Infinity Gauntlet series, Thanos already has the stones.
Oh!
Or, as they call them in the book, Infinity Gems.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why they went back and forth.
Interesting.
Now, Thanos has, at this point, he's already found all the stones, including the Soul Stone, Time, Space, Mind, Reality, and the Power Stone.
Okay.
Now, he got all of those stones in another comic book series called the Thanos Quest. So that series leads right up to Infinity Gauntlet, where he already has all the stones in the gauntlet.
Nice.
And in Infinity Gauntlet, he's already got this fully operational gauntlet ready to go, ready to strike fear in the universe. And, he's just contemplating, how should I use this? I have this destructive weapon, but now, what should I do as a cosmic god?
As you do,
I said that on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And in the climax of the first issue of Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos snaps his fingers and wipes out half the universe.
If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
All right, now, all over the world, people are like, hey, what's going on here? People are disappearing right before our eyes. This isn't normal. This doesn't happen on a daily basis. And then when the Avengers, when they see their friends and loved ones starting to disappear, that's a pretty big hint something's up in the galaxy, and it's not good.
The end is near. When I'm done, half of humanity will still exist.
Now, the other big difference between Infinity War, the film, and this Infinity Gauntlet comic series is that in the comic series, Thanos' motivations are entirely different. So in this comics, Thanos is completely obsessed with winning the heart of Mistress Death, who is the embodiment of the concept of death. So that's why he collected the Infinity Stones in the first place, because Death had ordered him to find a way to wipe out half the universe.
And he wanted to catch her eye, so he said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to wipe out half the universe, so maybe you'll start to like my big purple self.
Yeah, that's so crazy. All right.
In fact, most of the terrible things Thanos does with the Infinity Gauntlet are all about trying to impress the uninterested Mistress Death. He tries again and again and again, and she's like, meh, whatever. And he kills half the universe as she ordered.
Okay.
Still, nothing. Then he traps his own granddaughter, Nebula, to the point of death. Now, in Infinity Gauntlet, the comic series, Nebula is the granddaughter, whereas in the film, Nebula is the daughter.
Right.
But in the comic, is she really the granddaughter? She might just be posing as the granddaughter.
Well, but she's not dead, though. He has her in the suspended time where she's at the point of death, but cannot die, which I think that would be almost worse. I mean,
yeah. You're 1 second away, but yet he's not granting her the
peace, I guess.
Peace, exactly, of death.
Yeah.
Now, Thanos goes to fight the Avengers because the Avengers are like, hey, what's going on here? We want to see the source of this. It's this big Thanos, guys. Let's get him.
Right.
And since he's got all of these powerful gems or stones, he can do anything he wants. Like, he turns Wolverine's bones to rubber.
Oh, no. That's crazy.
So instead of this hardened steel, he's not made out of rubber.
Rubber Man.
It's like Plastic Man, right?
Wow.
And he suffocates Cyclops in an airtight cube. He transports Drax back into the age of dinosaurs.
Whoa. And then, oh my gosh, I don't like what he does to Thor.
Yes.
He turns Thor to glass and shatters him.
All in the name of trying to prove his bravery to Mistress Death.
I don't like Thanos.
No.
He messes with my Thor.
Now, ultimately, all that tinkering really attracts the attention of the most powerful cosmic entities of the Marvel Universe. We're talking like the Doctor Stranges.
Okay.
Who understandably view Thanos as a threat, and that's where things start to go really, really wrong for Thanos, because he's upsetting the wrong cosmic entities.
Okay.
Now, there's more cosmic entities which he's really, really ticking off, like Galactus, Kronos, Epoch, the Living Tribunal, and a bunch of others.
Huh.
Now, it's a tough fight, but Thanos does prevail. And then, in the excitement of his triumph, well, he decides to transform himself into an astral entity and leaves his corporal form behind.
Okay.
So he believes that if I leave my body, I will become even that more powerful.
Right, because the body is vulnerable.
I'm seeing a little bit of shades of Last Jedi, where Luke went into the cosmic force.
Absolutely.
But, like, in The Last Jedi, fans were like, hey, why did his mechanical hand disappear as well? It's not part of him.
Oh.
It's not wrapped up in the Force.
Wow.
However, in Infinity Gauntlet, as Thanos evaporates into the astral cosmic universe, his gauntlet drops.
Oh.
Because you can't bring that with him.
Well, he can't wear a gauntlet if he's not corporeal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is a very hard word. Now, Nebula, she sees this chance to rule the world and the universe and the galaxy, and she steals it.
Oh.
Yes.
Puts it on her own hand.
Yes. Because, hey, if you're not going to use it, I will. And she yanks the gauntlet from Thanos' abandoned body and shoves it onto her own hand, and now she's the supreme being in the universe.
I will buy a warship with every conceivable instrument of death. I will hunt my father like a dog, and I will tear him apart slowly, piece by piece, until he knows some semblance of the profound and unceasing pain I know every single day.
Now, judging from this comic, I'm wondering if Nebula's going to have a bigger part in Infinity War 2.
We're getting there. We're getting
Speculation.
there. Mm-hmm. Now, in the meantime, where's Randy Martinez when we need him?
Meanwhile,
the remaining forces of good wind up recruiting Thanos into a team-up to get the gauntlet from Nebula.
So are you talking like Kronos?
Yes.
Epoch?
Yes.
Galactus?
Yes. All right, now, in the meantime, the remaining forces of good wind up recruiting Thanos into a team-up to get the gauntlet back from Nebula. Now, Nebula is not exactly evil, but she's not good either. Now, when you have something like the Infinity Gauntlet,
right?
Well, you know what? That really will judge who you are as a person.
I agree.
Now, Thanos and the remaining heroes, they ask Nebula to give up the gauntlet. And nope, nothing doing. Are you kidding me? You didn't say please.
I was going to say, did they really just go up and ask her? Hey, Nebula, can we have that gauntlet back? Yeah, look over there.
But to spite Thanos, now this might be a spoiler for Infinity War 2, Nebula undoes everything that Thanos just did in the last 24 hours.
Oh.
Yes.
With that pesky time stone, I bet.
Yes. Well, exactly. Exactly. And then, well, instantly, the universe is restored, and the Avengers are returned to life and to their homes and to their loved ones and their friends. So everyone that Thanos had turned to dust, well, they're now back into their living self.
Right. Now, unfortunately for Nebula, the cosmic beings that Thanos defeated are also restored, and they provide the distraction that the Avengers heroes need to disrupt the gauntlet from within.
Now, we could explain how they do that, but it's very cosmic, and it involves a very powerful and very, very obscure character named Adam Warlock.
Right, which David Aker is saying.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So this is where he comes in. Now, there's like the A-level heroes like Spider-Man.
Okay.
There's B-level, I would say Hawkeye. Doctor Strange would have been maybe a C-level hero. This guy, Adam Warlock, yeah, he's way down there to like X. He's like the level X superhero.
Okay. Huh.
Now, he's very heavily involved in all the Infinity Gem stuff in the Marvel Comics, and he might not even show up in the films until Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay.
So we might see this guy. He wears a red and yellow unitard.
At least
nice
in the comics
cape.
he does.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all you need to know is at the end of the Infinity Gauntlet comic series, none of the core heroes or villains get to keep the gauntlet, and Thanos winds up living a very quiet life on a backwater planet. Does that sound familiar?
Kind of sounds like at the end of now Avengers Infinity War.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanos, he's in over his head. He doesn't really know what he's going to do with all of this. And at the very end of it all, he's just a farmer. He's a farmer. he's like in Rogue One.
Right. Urso.
Yeah. Galen Erso.
Right.
He was this mastermind, and he just put it all away. Didn't want any of the responsibility. Didn't want anything to fall on him. So you know what? If I become a farmer, all I gotta do is worry about my crops and what Jin's gonna be doing.
There you go.
So same thing with Thanos. He just wants to watch the sunrise and the sunset and just rest. That's what we all kind of want, isn't it?
I wonder what happened to the gauntlet then. It's interesting.
Oh, there are sequels. The sequel to Infinity Gauntlet is the Infinity War, which came out in 1992.
Wow.
But I think this is enough to digest.
Yeah,
so
that's a lot.
We're not going to go in there just yet because things will start to get all mixed up, and there's just so many characters.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give that primer, that background into the Infinity War, how it all began with the Infinity Gauntlet with this 6-part Marvel series in 1991.
So now I think we're ready to get into our discussion with Joe Decklemeier from ScreenRant and our breakdown of Avengers Infinity War.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people, to see if we could become something more. So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
That they never could.
Ten years ago, we got the debut of the first Marvel Cinematic Universe film with Iron Man. After the success of that film, hints were being dropped that the Infinity War was coming. And as of April 27th, the first part of this ultimate superhero battle was here.
Joseph Decklemeier from ScreenRant and that hashtag show, as well as a past guest who helped us break down Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Black Panther, he is back once again to talk us through Avengers Infinity War. Now, we can't warn you enough, there will be spoilers ahead.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Attention Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
Oh, and lots of them. Hey, Joe.
Hey, guys, how are you?
We are excited to talk Infinity War, this crazy film that, oh my gosh, just blew our minds.
Been waiting so long for this film.
It took us 10 years to get here. 10 years.
And it's been teased almost that long.
Well, I think every Marvel Cinematic Universe film had a little tease that this was coming, and now it's here. So when you sat down in your theater seat, how tight were you gripping the arms of your seat when the film first began? How excited were you?
I can only imagine that this is kind of what people anticipated for like The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or something, because that's how I kind of felt. And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, man, I hope this pays off for the 10 years I've waited for it.
All right.
Well,
with that
kind of begs the question then.
Yeah. All right. So, Joe, let's start with you. What are your overall thoughts on Infinity War?
So I went to the premiere, and I guess my audience was the first audience that had seen its movie in its entirety.
Wow.
And my first thought was, I don't know how to process what I just saw. And because it has such a somber ending, and I can only imagine that it is this generation's version of Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of kids that started maybe when they watched the Marvel Cinematic Universe when they were 10 and now they're 20. And it must have this sense of that the good guys didn't necessarily win. And I thought about it, and I was like, man, I have to go and watch this movie again. Now, when I went to go see it again, there's a lot of moments that I didn't necessarily catch because our audience was so loud. I thought, though, that the Russo brothers did an excellent job of managing all the characters that they had. And I thought that was one of the biggest tasks that I was worried about, because on paper, the movie shouldn't work because there's so many things that are going on. But
yes,
when I sit back and take it for what it is, the Russo brothers managed to make a good movie out of what they had. I wouldn't say a great movie, but definitely a good movie. But rewatching it, because I watched it again last night, and I was telling Richard that I was going to watch it again. Watch it again last night, and I thought maybe, because we all know that there's going to be, this is the first of 2 parts. I know it's not called Infinity War Part 2 anymore, because they're marketing it as its own thing. But I actually think that maybe this should have been 3 parts.
Oh.
Because there was a lot of more Thanos that I wanted to see. And I feel that they really could have dove in deeper to the Soul Stone. And also one of the big set pieces that was in Guardians of the Galaxy was that planet where the Power Stone was. And I felt like that could have been shown too, because that was such a big part of Guardians 1. The planet where the Nova Corps was.
Yes.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah, the all the different colored people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So overall, would you say that this was a great film, amazing, fantastic, incredible? It was a film.
You know what? It was a good film. Here's the thing, though. It just like The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people were very polarized on The Last Jedi. I liked it. I loved it personally. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. However, I think that those people that didn't like it really have to take it as a whole. And then we have one more movie coming out, and that's Episode 9. So once that movie comes out, I think that'll help The Last Jedi in fans' minds. And I think Infinity War might do the same for me a little bit, mainly because I know that there's another one coming out in a year. And at first I thought to myself, a year's a long time to wait for a movie, but realistically, with any TV show like Game of Thrones, I've been waiting longer. So, you know, it's not as long as I made it out to be in my head.
Right.
Right. All right, Sarah, what did you think about Infinity War?
Okay, so I kind of feel like all the Marvel movies we've seen has culminated into this one film. I mean, certainly in the theater, it felt that way. I know we saw a preview screening with a bunch of press, but we were all into it. I mean,
this was the loudest I've heard press since, well, the Force Awakens.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know several times I like yelled out loud like, "Oh my gosh," or "Whoa," or I even Sarah swears. But what I feel about this film is if you've been following all the superheroes, you know all the Marvel films, and maybe you've watched them several times, you know their personalities, and it was really awesome to see all these personalities mixed up in different ways that we haven't seen before. So I think for me, those character relationships and where it was just kind of, that was the cream of the crop for me. That was what I liked the most. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of that going on. So you had like Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you had Spider-Man with Peter Quill, you know, and they're talking about, what is it? Movies and stuff, pop culture, you know, pop culture references. And you have Iron Man meeting the wizards with Doctor Strange and stuff. So that was my favorite part. And to me, since I take character relationships like a lot, like I judge that a lot higher than other things in a film, for me, I thought this film definitely measured up in a good way. I would say it's a great film. Not the best Marvel film, but I definitely would give it the characterization of great.
Okay, all right. Now for me, I had a great time with this film. I had a great time. If I had to label it as great, good, fantastic, I'm going to say it was a very good film.
Okay.
And I'll explain why in just a second. Now going back to my childhood, this is the film I've always wanted to see when I was a kid, seeing a mashup of all of these heroes in one place.
Yeah.
When comic books would do this, I would just go ballistic.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the different, like you, Sarah, the different personalities, the cosmic heroes with the earthbound heroes. Yeah. That always really, really excited me. Now we get to see it with Infinity War. And with the tone of the film, as always, Marvel excels. Mm-hmm. They excel at the high intensity action, and then throwing in some fun, very well placed comedic moments.
Right.
Like, yes. I would say that the Justice League films, Batman versus Superman versus the box office versus Harry Potter, I think it was. They try to shove in these jokes when they just don't work, but Marvel get that perfect balance with comedy and action. Now, it's hard to really rate this film because we're just seeing a half of a movie. Now, it's like watching a movie and walking out during the second act and then rating it. You just can't, because there's you're missing the ending. And right now, I feel like we're missing the ending to the story. And like Joe, like you said, this really should have been a 3-film story.
Yeah, maybe give us a Thanos movie first, and then 2 Avenger movies, because I felt like that Gamora stuff, that stuff about, I mean, he was a sad dad, you know?
Yeah. And I don't think there was enough time spent with each superhero collective. Okay. And as soon as we were starting to get into one story, they would cut away to another superhero group and another and another. It's like, I really want to see this story play out. So it really needed 3 films to do so. Now, the Russo brothers have done a tremendous job in balancing the complex stories with the characters. But I just want to see more development, not with the characters, because we've had this with the standalone movies and with the prior Avengers movie, but I want to see now the character collectives really develop. And in the end, I just wish that this movie had moved me as much as Captain America: Civil War.
Right.
But it just, when I left that theater, I was like, did I miss something? Why don't I feel moved the way I did before?
So really what you want to see is Spider-Man and Peter Quill in a knockdown, drag-out battle of the pop culture trivia contest, right?
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
What?
You look like Mary Poppins.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
Yeah, as being refereed by Tony Stark. Yeah. Right? Because he was like why would Tony Stark put the kibosh on all of Peter Parker's pop culture references?
That was so amazing.
It was stealing Tony's gimmick, that's why. You know what, though? One thing this movie did really well, though, it had the feel of reading a comic book, though, the way that they would jump through things. It felt like reading one of those big event comic books from Marvel.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, it did have a great comic book feel. I can say that, and not a lot of comic book movies do have that tone, that feel, that rhythm. But this one did.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Going into this film, what were we looking forward to?
Well, like you said, Sarah, the team ups. I was most excited to see how the Guardians of the Galaxy were going to interact with the Avengers, mainly Rocket Raccoon, and that did not disappoint. His interactions with Thor were amazing. I love that Thor kept calling him a rabbit.
Yes!
I love that. Also love the fact that this version of Thor was most like the version that we got in Ragnarok, and I loved Ragnarok.
Right. Very comedic.
And it also picks up right where Ragnarok leaves off. And this is exactly how a cinematic universe should be built. And the character interactions were what I was looking forward to the most. Of course, I love catching up with Tony Stark. I'm a big Captain America fan, and I don't feel that he got a lot of screen time, but it's okay because I know that there's another movie that's going to have him in it, and I think he's going to be featured a lot more prominently. And I was happy to revisit Wakanda again.
Okay.
Sarah, how about you? What were you looking forward to the most?
So ever since Marvel's The Avengers had teased us, one of the final end credits was Thanos. And I had never seen this guy. Like, I'm not a comic book reader, but that, for some reason, that particular end credit scene really stuck with me, and I just remembered it, and I thought at the time it was like, oh, this is the tease for the next Avengers film. Well, no. Cut to like 6 years later, anyway, and several movies later, and now we finally get to see Thanos. So I was excited to see more of Thanos, and of course he was referenced in Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but here we get to see his backstory and what was going on with him, and I was almost rooting for him to get all the Infinity Stones. As much as as much as I like the Avengers, I understood where he came from, and so I mean, not that I'm on his side, but I just, it's the journey that matters. And so I was really happy to follow his journey.
That's so interesting you say that, because after rewatching the movie again, I actually kind of agree with you, because Marvel's getting better with their villains now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was interesting because he actually, his reasoning, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand his reasoning. And
right.
It's like, okay. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I was looking forward to is seeing more Thanos, because we kept seeing him in little bits here and there. And here's Josh Brolin saying, "Is it my time? No, all right. Is it my time now? No, all right."
Finally, I get to go to a press conference.
But definitely, like everyone here, the meeting of all these heroes is what I was looking forward to the most.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a clip at D23 Expo last summer where we saw Thor meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
And the whole room just erupted so loud in laughter that it fell silent. And that got me really pumped. Like, okay, now I want to see Spider-Man meeting Doctor Strange, meeting Peter Quill. And I just love the team up of all of these heroes. And then seeing all these alpha males. You have Captain America, you have
Peter Quill and
Peter
Thor.
Quill. Yeah, you have all these alpha males. How will they get along?
Yep.
And as we saw, not very well.
Yeah, they
Their
did.
fight scene in Wakanda.
That showdown between Peter Quill and Thor.
Oh, yeah.
the alpha male throwdown.
Oh, my gosh. So, Richard, if you were competing against Thor, what would your voice sound like?
Hey, Thor, how's it going there? Let's battle! Let's do this!
I'm choosing Thor.
Oh my goodness! See,
no, you're supposed to do the voice, the deep voice.
Oh,
what are you doing?
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was trying to pull a 180.
If you were Peter Quill,
okay, I would pull out my Batman voice. All right, Thor, you're going down. You have a red cape. I got a black cape. I'm sorry, Batman. What are you saying? I say I got a utility belt. Oh, you got a. I'm sorry. What now?
So you're gonna use the shark repellent on your utility belt.
Yeah, exactly. It's an Asgard repellent.
See, I got that.
Yes,
you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
I would pull a Peter Quill on Thor the way he did at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy when he's doing the dance off for Ronan the Accuser.
Yes.
Someday, put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you. What are you doing? I'm distracting you.
That's what I would do. I'd use my Batman voice to distract Thor, so he would just walk away and leave me alone. See, there you go. See, and we all live a happily peaceful existence.
Okay, that was awesome.
Sarah?
Yes?
Who would you...
Oh, my.
Who would you crown alpha male between Peter Quill and Thor?
Okay.
Or
you can't get mad at me.
Do I want to hear this?
No, you can't get mad at me.
Moving right along.
Let me answer it. Let me answer it. Because this is an interesting question. Okay, so when we got out of this film, I turned to you, Richard, and I said, out of all the superheroes, you're most like Peter Quill. And it's true. You're kind of a goofball, but you're very alpha male, but you're, you know, and
I am.
And you're sexy.
I am.
Right. So like by default, I would probably have to choose Peter Quill. However, in the press conference where there was all the superheroes there, my eyes just kept going to Thor. I just couldn't help it. It's the blue eyes. But you have blue eyes too, so it's a toss-up between...
Well, in full disclosure, how can you not look at Chris Hemsworth?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy.
He's a good-looking guy. He's like 7'18".
He is. So it's hard. So for personality, Peter Quill. For looks, Thor. How's about that?
You're just playing the field, aren't you?
Okay. I would not say no to that. Okay.
All right. You know what? I think it's time to move on, okay? No, you know what? I want to piggyback off of something that Joe had just said about Thanos. Mm-hmm. And up until this point, I thought Eric Killmonger from Black Panther was the best that the MCU had to offer. And then in comes Thanos. He's a very sympathetic character, and like Eric Killmonger, he thought he was doing the right thing, which makes any villain that much deeper. And I love the fact that all Thanos wanted to do was rest and watch a sunset. Come on.
Perfect Disney ending. Perfect Disney ending.
How do you hate a guy like this?
I know.
So Joe, what are some of your thoughts on how Thanos stacks up in the MCU?
To other villains.
Oh man, it's so tough to say because like you said, Killmonger was great, and Loki's had such an iconic stay, yes. And Loki has been the most iconic villain up to this point.
Yeah.
The one thing though that really sums up Thanos is Killmonger has a great line at the end of Black Panther, and I love the end of this movie where little Gamora asks him, "What did it cost you?" And he says, "Everything." And I kind of felt for Thanos at that point because he realizes that, was this all worth it? And I agree with you. I think that Thanos is the best villain that the MCU has had. Granted, we've seen him for the last, 6 years now? And been building up to this moment. And finally, I think the moment pays off. And Thanos is exactly what he was promoted as. And that is a bad, bad dude.
Okay.
Right, yeah. When you see someone like Thanos come walking into the scene, you just know he means business. And I think I like that more than Loki's characteristics.
Well, eventually Loki got everything that he wanted. His story arc was complete in the MCU. Like, his whole thing was that he wanted acceptance from his father, and he wanted to be the king of Asgard. Both things he eventually ended up accomplishing throughout his duration in the cinematic universe.
Yeah, he just got it in a different way than Thanos or Eric Killmonger. Which, I'm glad they're not doing the same thing for every villain.
Exactly.
Sarah, not knowing much about Thanos yourself, because you didn't read the Infinity Gauntlet as a kid, or didn't know much about Thanos going into all of this, what did you think about this villain?
About Thanos? Well, okay, so when you asked this question, how does Thanos compare to other villains, I kind of ranked them.
Oh, okay.
I kind of thought to myself about the MCU, and honestly, for me, number one is Loki, and particularly Loki from the Avengers film, and particularly the scene where he takes out that guy's eyeball. It's like at a piano concert or something. That concert in Vienna was like, that scene right there just epitomized Loki and his evilness in a good way for me. And so I'm not even going on his character trajectory. I'm just going on like that one scene is like my favorite villain scene. My number two villain would probably be actually Baron Zemo from Civil War, because we got to know him, and he was so sneaky and trying to manipulate the Avengers, and he was just very, very intelligent and figured out the fact that to rip the Avengers apart from within would be the best way to go, instead of, show your strength. So
I'm glad you mentioned Baron Zemo, mainly because he's the only villain that never had to throw a punch to defeat the Avengers.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just think that's brilliant. And so that's why he's my number two. And then I would say Thanos right now is number three. Now I can't promise that won't change as we kind of, these films kind of sink into our consciousness as we watch them more. But that's right now, it's Loki, Baron Zemo, and then Thanos.
I think Baron Zemo would have been good for like a Christopher Nolan superhero film, because when you see a superhero film, you want to see the action adventure, you want to see the fighting and the explosions and the battles, and Baron Zemo was more of a thinking man's villain, which was great, and I was thrown for a loop during Civil War.
Yeah. Also, that character has the highest glass ceiling, because I feel like there's still so much more story to tell with that character going forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, unless he disappeared.
And with the sympathetic villains, you tend to root for him at the very end.
Right.
And he didn't need to wear a big giant costume. I think he appreciated that.
Yeah.
Now, on Facebook, I saw a couple of people wanting to see Infinity War, but they didn't know how lost they would be. So, Joe, if someone came to you and said, I really want to see Infinity War, but I'm going to be so lost, what is a couple of films you would tell them they should see before going in to see this film?
Well, that is a correct statement, because if you have no idea what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, you were definitely going to be lost. But definitely you have to watch, I feel like you have to watch both Avenger movies that lead into this. I would say the first Guardians movie. And if you want to get a sense of who Tony Stark is, you probably should watch the first Iron Man movie, and Doctor Strange and Black Panther, definitely. Other than that, though, I think that you don't necessarily need Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. As of right now, I guess you need Captain America Civil War to understand what happened there.
Yeah.
But other than that, you don't need the Incredible Hulk. Oh, you would kind of need Ragnarok, but you don't need the other two Thor movies. But that's probably it, right?
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, definitely. And the answers on Facebook were off the charts. Gotta see this, gotta see that. And my answer was, well, you gotta watch Howard the Duck, or you'll be really lost.
Apparently, they get really lost. Because I had someone on Facebook, I saw this post from George Gensler, and she said, "I'm so sorry that I wasted my money on Avengers Infinity War. I had no idea who half the characters were. I should have waited until I'd watched all of the Avengers movies so I'd know what was going on." So there you have it, straight from the lips of someone who I guess wasn't all up to date.
It's a fair statement.
Yeah.
But when you see the poster with like 58 characters, and if you don't recognize more than 3 of them, maybe wait until you're caught up.
Yeah.
Well, I think Marvel's done this kind of thing, that we're in this new age of films. I mean, I feel that now they're almost like just really long TV shows that come out every quarter. And I think that it kind of trains you now to want to know what's going on with all these characters by giving you this kind of serialized cinematic universe. It's not much different than like these TV shows that we all get invested into. I also think, though, they've also trained us in a way, because now I find myself at the end of every movie sitting through all the credits to see if there's a post-credit scene. It doesn't matter what the movie is. It could be anything. It could be a World War II epic like Dunkirk, and I will sit there knowing that there's not a post-credit scene, but just making sure that there's not.
And when there's not, people will go, "Oh, it's not a Marvel film. What did you expect?" And I really hope they do not add tags onto Star Wars films, because it's such a Marvel thing.
I agree with you.
Too much of a copycat idea. Yeah. Now, the best part about any film, especially a film you're so invested in, is surprises. Because you know this universe so well, and these storylines and these characters, but yet all these new surprises are being thrown at you. What were some of the biggest surprises for Infinity War for you, Joe?
Well, working in, I guess as a journalist, would be you kind of know some of this stuff going in. Like, I felt like, and we are spoilers, right? We can do spoilers.
Yeah,
yes,
aplenty.
Yes.
Okay.
Attention, Skywalkers. Spoilers ahead.
Warning.
So the low key dying thing, I've known about this for about a year and a half now. And I knew it was going to happen very early on in the film to show how strong Thanos was. So that wasn't a big thing to me. But the Red Skull actually was probably the biggest shocker to me. I just didn't expect it. So when I heard the voice, I was like, man, that sounds so familiar. But then when I saw him, I was like, oh, it's the Red Skull, even though it wasn't Hugo Weaving. I thought that Red Skull reveal was, I was amazed. I used a word I probably can't say here as soon as it came on screen.
Yeah, I don't know who Ross Marquand is, but he was a good replacement for
Hugo Weaving.
He's in the Walking Dead. Yeah, Ross Marquand's in The Walking Dead. Yeah, he's a character on The Walking Dead, but if you actually Google Ross Marquand, it shows you how many impressions this guy can do. He does everybody.
Oh,
he's amazing.
No wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder. That was one of the biggest thrills for me. I've always loved the character of Red Skull, and at the end of Captain America: First Avenger, I was hoping he wasn't dead after he tried to grab the Tesseract, and so viewers didn't know whether is he dead, is he just up in the cosmos. We need closure on this character.
Right. If we don't see his head being cut off or turning into dust, they could come back.
Right. And also Ross Marquand came out in an interview earlier this week and said that it was so secretive the way he did this, and he was trying to reduplicate Hugo Weaving's voice, but then the Russo brothers told him, well, he's been on this planet for about 70 years, so his voice would change a little bit. So Ross Marquand made the Red Skull a little bit his own with Hugo Weaving's influence, heavy influence.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just to remind everyone, he's in the scene where Thanos is taking Gamora to the planet Vormir, and they're going up to the Soul Stone.
Right. Red Skull is actually the guardian of the Soul Stone.
Exactly. Yeah, he takes him over there, and it's like that perfect limbo state, because he wants a soul, but he can't get to it. He can lead others to it. He just can't get there himself.
Wow.
Now, a big surprise for me was seeing Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
What? Peter Dinklage as a giant.
As a giant dwarf. And then when he first appeared, everyone cheered, And I'm like, yeah, who is he? To me, he looked like Hagrid from Harry Potter.
Oh,
he did. I didn't even put that together. He totally did.
Then when I heard his voice, it's like, wait a minute, why is Tyrion Lannister's voice coming out of Hagrid's body? And this character, his name is Etri. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
Etri.
He's the Dwarf King, or
Yes.
not king, but he's one of the dwarves. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a master weapon maker, and he made the Infinity Gauntlet. He made Thor's hammer, Mjolnir.
Mjolnir.
Yes. And now Thor's new weapon called Stormbreaker. And I love the fact that Stormbreaker is made partly from Groot's arm.
I'm wondering if that's going to come back later.
Of course it is.
Oh, yeah.
But seeing that character who forged all these super powerful weapons, I never thought we would see that. That was a huge surprise to me.
Actually, it's kind of fun that place exists, and that's how we get all these crazy, interesting weapons.
Yeah,
like that. So
that's why Rocket's like, hey, I'm on board.
Yeah, let's go.
Super weapon plant?
Yeah.
Hey, one for one more?
Exactly.
So, fun fact for this one is that a lot of speculation before the movie even came out was that Peter Dinklage was actually going to voice one of Thanos' Children of Thanos, one of those villains that were there. But it turned out that was not to be true. So I was excited when I saw him on screen.
Nice.
And I also didn't notice the first time I saw it that his hands were like, I don't know, they had some kind of like cast on him, because I guess Thanos did that to him so he couldn't make any more weapons. Right. I didn't notice that the first time I saw it. I caught it in my second viewing.
Yeah, he had like two dark Infinity Gauntlets.
Yeah, two dark fists, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like those Hasbro Hulk punch-em gloves.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. All right, so one surprise for me was the entrance of the Guardians of the Galaxy into this film. And all of a sudden we've been following some characters, and then all of a sudden you see space and you get this music, and it just brings you right back to Guardians of the Galaxy, like just their vibe.
Oh, right, yeah.
And everyone was grooving in the theater, like, oh yeah, it's Guardians of the Galaxy.
And even Gamora is jamming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. I really appreciated that tonal shift in the film.
Yeah. And that scene particularly was written by James Gunn to have that same feel.
Nice.
Oh, and
Yeah.
it did.
It did.
I love the fact that these films have so many surprise Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Now, you can't really call Stan Lee's appearance a surprise.
No.
Because, he's always going to be in there. And Joe, do you think he's playing the same character in every film, or is it supposed to be different characters?
You know what? I don't know, because he is in Guardians too, and he's kind of telling the Watchers all of his exploits on Earth. So I mean, there's a huge theory out there that Stan Lee is one of the Earth Watchers, which I guess could be a thing, but I think it's more of a I have no idea what they're doing with him, and I'm really curious to see if he continues on doing these, because I know that James Gunn shot like 4 of them with him.
Whoa.
Yeah, so who knows? Who knows?
I think the answer is don't look too deeply into it. Just have fun with Stan Lee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another Easter egg in there, which I did not see, which I can't wait to see it again. And that's when we go to the collector's warehouse.
Right.
And in one of his cases, you're going to spot a bald blue man in cut-off jean shorts lounging in the background.
Oh, okay.
I read this and I went crazy, because that's supposed to be Tobias Fuke from Arrested Development.
What?
Oh, that's what that is.
Yes. Which many episodes of Arrested Development were directed by the Russo brothers.
Whoa.
And in the show, Tobias is always wearing blue makeup in case he gets the call to audition for the Blue Man Group. And he's never nude. He doesn't like to be naked, so when he goes into the shower, he's always wearing shorts.
Tobias suffered a rare psychological affliction of never being able to be completely naked.
It's Arrested Development.
Wow.
And you see him in one of the collector's cases. I can't wait. I'll go see the movie again just to see that bit.
That's interesting, because at the end, both times I see this like in special thanks to Arrested Development by 20th Century Fox, and I kept thinking like, what is this from?
Yeah, I saw that credit too. I just thought maybe in a TV in the background, maybe on Star-Lord's ship, Rocket or Groot were watching the show.
Wow.
And so I couldn't figure it out. But when I saw that afterwards, when I started reading all these articles because I could, and I saw that, it's like, oh, okay, get me back to that theater right now.
Interesting.
Now, before we move on to our next topic, what did we think of Groot? Speaking of Groot in this film, because I was, boy, what a waste of a character.
Aww.
Because they had this running joke of him always being on his video game like a kid, and then finally in the end, very predictable, he springs into action. Was it me, or is that just a joke that went on way too long, trying to parallel the youths of America or of the world who just can't not look up from their video games?
Why? I don't think that Groot was going to have much to do in this film. I was just happy that he got a character moment. I think they kind of set it up that he wasn't going to do much in this film by having him play on his video game, and they did it pretty smart. And I think it was Guardians too, right? Where it was the post-credit scene and he's like teenage Groot already.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think they kind of set that up that it was going to be like that with him. I mean, and I can only imagine how difficult it was really figuring out what his character moment was going to be. But luckily, it paid off with Thor's hammer. Right. And then when we get to Asgard, he's pretty effective there as well. I also love that scene in Asgard where Thor says, "This is my new friend, this tree," and then he says, "I am Groot," and then he goes, "I am Steve Rogers."
Yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was
great. Oh, we're using our fake names now.
Yeah,
whatever.
Another very funny moment. I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our fake names. I'm Spider-Man.
That was amazing.
That was great.
Okay.
I'm so glad that Spider-Man got as much as much screen time as he did, because after seeing Homecoming, I was like, I need more Spider-Man. I need more Spider-Man. And I loved the addition of his new Iron Spider suit with those 6 big legs that come out of the back. Oh, I love that.
Wow. You know, I think they did a really good job with Spider-Man in this film. You know, he's only been in 3 MCU movies, and I think that he's quickly becoming the new heart and soul of the MCU.
Yeah.
Well, he's the voice of the younger generation, and he kind of breathes some fresh life into some of the older Avengers who take the world upon their shoulders. You know, he's not yet responsible for everything, so he doesn't, he's more lighthearted. And I think he's kind of that.
The voice.
The voice of that.
And the questioning. Mm-hmm. So he gets to question what's going on for the audience.
Right.
As does Ant-Man, does the same thing in Civil War. And I thought that was a great addition, because a lot of stuff is like, hey, wait, what's going on? But now we have someone like him to ask the questions for us.
Captain America. Oh, I know you too, but Captain America. And he feels up his chest. It's awesome.
Okay, well, Captain America.
Yes.
How about his costume?
Okay, yeah, let's talk costumes.
All right. Now, I was so disappointed. I love me some Captain America, but I was so disappointed in his costume. It's like, did Zack Snyder step in and say, you know what, let's color drain everything from this suit the way I did with Superman?
Yeah, you know what? He's kind of flying under the radar of...
I get that.
So he's kind of have to be a little more subtle. However, I missed his shield so much.
Oh yeah, Cap and his shield. Those two. That's like milk and cookies, right?
That was like 50%. Like, I learned in this film that 50% of Captain America's sex appeal is his shield.
I get 3 Captain America shields in the closet. I can go get at least one.
And guess what? I'm married to you, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
This version of Captain America is based on his run as the character named Nomad. Nomad is Steve Rogers, who ends up kind of going away from the U.S. government and kind of becomes kind of like how he is in the movie, kind of does his own thing as a vigilante. And that was, they wanted to make this, I mean, even I think they even in the premiere they had his suit there, the dirty looking suit, and it's called I think they even call it the Nomad look.
Yeah, oh. And I get that. He's flying under the radar. He's a war criminal, but still, you need the white star.
Yeah.
You need those vibrant blues.
I know. But you know what? Doctor Strange's cape kind of made up for Cap's shield.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
This is like 2 characters in one.
Yes. Or his cloak of levitation, excuse me.
Or I think Drax calls it the blanket of death.
He would. Yeah, that was amazing. And it saved Doctor Strange quite a few times.
Yeah, it did.
I love going to conventions and seeing people dressed up as the 1970s comic book Doctor Strange with the big spiky, pointy cape collar.
You know what? I've seen the best Doctor Strange cosplay. I saw the best Doctor Strange cosplay at WonderCon. It was somebody's dressed as Doctor Strange, and then somebody else dressed as his cape, and it was amazing.
Wow!
It was that one scene where the cape is actually reacting to what's going on around him, like it's an actual person right there.
Yeah.
That just I couldn't tell you what the scene was because I was so fixed on the cape.
Was that in New York? I think by the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yeah. So it was where Tony Stark was leaning up against something, and then the cape like slapped him, and he says, "You know what? I'll let that go." the cape also, obviously, like you said, Sarah, the cape saves him on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
All right, now let's fast forward to the ending, and once again, let's play another spoiler alert warning.
Warning.
Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
Now, with a snap of his fingers, Thanos causes a huge number of people to simply vanish into what? Dust?
Yep.
Including most of the MCU's stable of superheroes like Falcon and Black Panther, Star-Lord, Scarlet Witch, Mantis, Doctor Strange, and I particularly felt really bad when Spider-Man, this little kid, the 17-year-old, just disappeared. Now, Joe, was this a surprise to you, or was it spoiled when Mark Ruffalo revealed the ending on Good Morning America when he says they all die?
Wait till you see this next one. Everybody dies.
Dude.
Not everybody. No. Is that?
No. Hey, whatever.
Can we rewind that part?
Yeah. Can we? You'll cut that.
That's not.
I don't. It wasn't a surprise that Thanos was going to snap his fingers and people were going to disappear. I was actually surprised though by the choices of which people did disappear. But noticing that the 6 original Avengers did not disappear.
Oh.
So I think that is going to time, because a lot of those contracts are up. So we're talking about the business side of this. A lot of those contracts are up, and it sounds like at least 4 of them are leaving and 2 of them are staying. So to have this next movie focused on the original 6 that kind of started it all makes a lot of sense to me. But then you got a character like Ant-Man and Hawkeye that hasn't disappeared, or we don't know that he has, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't. So I think it's going to focus on those characters that haven't disappeared more prominently than it did the first time around. And that's good because Steve Rogers, I think, needs it because he didn't have a lot to do in this movie.
No, not at all. Yeah, I found myself going, okay, I got to keep track of who's disappearing and who's not and what connection do they all have with each other. And I couldn't figure it out. And I think it would have been more of an impactful ending if we had seen 2 definite deaths. Because having them all disappear and turning into dust, you just know that, all right, well, they're not going to get rid of this stable of heroes. They're going to come back somehow.
Well, but there were 2 deaths before this disappearing
Right, but I'm
moment.
talking about the key core Avengers.
Okay.
You know, so I thought it would have been a little bit more impactful had Black Panther and Spider-Man not disappeared. Mainly because you already know that those characters are getting a sequel. Everybody else is kind of like on the table. Like it could have happened to anybody because who knows if they're going to come back. But if those characters didn't disappear, I think it would have been a little bit more like, well, are they going to come back?
Well, it's kind of like Harrison Ford in The Empire Strikes Back. That's why he went into Carbonite, because he wasn't signed to do Return of the Jedi. So, okay, we'll put you in Carbonite and decide later on. And I think had they maybe killed off Captain America and Iron Man, I know I would be like, oh my goodness, are they going to come back? I know their contracts are up, but will they come back? And I would have felt would have been more impacted.
When Thanos stabs Iron Man, I audibly gasped and I was like, oh my gosh, they are really going to kill Iron Man. I really thought that was going to happen.
Me too.
Oh, that would have been perfect. Leave it right there. And I would have left that theater in tears. But then everyone kept disappearing, so I thought, okay, he's got the reality stone, he's got the time stone.
He's got the time stone.
But the whole reality stone could play a part into it too, because he could be like, hey, these people turning into dust, that didn't really happen. That was just me using my reality stone. I know that could be said for any outcome.
Well, by the same token, though, I was surprised at the ending, because I have not read the comics, and I was expecting the next scene where the Avengers are gonna heroically save the day, and then the credits rolled. And I was like, wait, what? What? I felt like I had the wind knocked out of me as the credits were rolling, and I was trying to figure out how I felt.
Then I thought Thanos' scene came too early. He just wanted to rest and watch a sunset. That should have been at the end of the next film, because he has to have known that not all the Avengers are dead and there's still more fighting to do.
Right. But again, I don't think that that's Thanos' goal is to even fight the Avengers. It's just to have half of the universe disappear.
Oh yeah. He wants balance. The Avengers, that's secondary.
One thing though that we didn't really talk about, but I kind of loved is that Thanos beats up the Hulk so bad that he's afraid to come out.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
And,
I felt so bad for him.
Yeah, but then I also love the fact that Bruce Banner becomes his own hero in this movie.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
And I really like Bruce Banner. Like he won me over in this movie. I really like him a lot.
It's very ironic that Bruce Banner is in the Hulkbuster outfit.
Right. You know what? And somebody else that might have been confused by this movie is Hasbro, because they put out a bunch of toys or Funko Pops or whatever that had the Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster armor. So that never happened in the movie.
Oh, or was it a deleted scene?
It could have been, or there was misdirection though, because in the trailer when they're all running together, the Hulk's not with them in the movie, but in the trailer he is.
Yeah,
when they're in Wakanda, yeah.
Yeah, I think they knew what they were doing when they put that shot in the trailer, because you need that all-encompassing shot
the hero
of
shot.
everybody. You got to have the Hulk in there.
Yeah,
and they knew that they were toying with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we must see more Hulk, but the fact that Hulk is now like a little kitty cat, he's afraid of Thanos, so he's going to go into hiding. Oh my goodness! Now in the very, very end, the infamous Marvel tag, when they're all disappearing, and here's Smolder and Nick Fury getting out of their car, and Smolder is turning into dust, and then as Nick Fury is turning into this dust, he's quickly trying to send out a page to somebody on his beeper, and he turns into dust and he falls. But we see that last shot of his. Is it a pager? Are we beyond this technology? It's a pager.
Intergalactic pager.
Okay, it's an intergalactic pager. So, Joe, tell us all about what we saw in that last image.
So in that last image, that is directly tying into Marvel's not next film, because that's Ant-Man and the Wasp, but the film after that, which is Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Now, Carol Danvers is a former Miss Marvel. She was a big part of the big Kree versus Skrull war, which is going to be a part of her movie. I'm not sure how much you guys know about her movie. It actually takes place in the 1990s.
Yeah.
So it's going to tie into that, and supposedly she has a big role in Avengers 4. Whatever that's going to be titled, obviously with him calling her. So that's going to be a thing. And she's, I guess Kevin Feige had said that she is the most powerful superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Whoa.
So that's going to be interesting. But what's really interesting to me about this, though, is that in her film, it's going to introduce us to the Skrulls, which Fox has been using for their X-Men Dark Phoenix thing. But what's interesting about the Skrulls is that they can shapeshift into anybody. And I think going forward, it's going to be a question of like who was a Skrull and who wasn't a Skrull. Because one of the big comic book storylines that a lot of people are anticipating is Secret Invasion, which is based on these Skrulls. So I think that might be our next phase of movies going forward.
So Skrulls are actual people?
Well, they're aliens, but they can shapeshift into people. And some of the Skrulls, when they get down to Secret Invasion in the comics, they don't even know that they're Skrulls. They actually think that they're their human form.
Huh. How do you spell Skrull?
SKRULLS, I think.
Okay.
So that's going to be an interesting.
So like secret
plot
squirrels.
That's what I thought you were saying at first. Squirrels. Like, oh.
No, Skrulls. Yeah. So the Skrull invasion is a big deal in the Marvel Cinematic, or it's going to be a big deal in the Marvel. It's a big deal in the Marvel comics, but it's anticipated to be a big deal in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward.
Wow.
When the audience at our screening saw the Captain Marvel insignia, I think that got an even bigger reaction than when we first went to Wakanda during the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be it's Marvel's first female superhero film, which I think it's been a long time
overdue.
Coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So finally, and I'm happy that they're making her the most powerful superhero in the universe.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of young female viewers of these films are going to have now somebody definitely to look up to.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually she becomes one of the leaders of the Avengers.
She becomes the leader of the Avengers.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's got so much story potential, and her film comes out March 8th, 2019.
Birthday movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going on a set visit to the set on Friday, so I'm excited about that.
Wow.
Oh.
Where is that? Is that in
It's going to be at Sony Studios in Culver City.
Oh, okay.
They're shooting also Captain Marvel marks the return of the Marvel Cinematic Universe shooting in California again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because I know they've been in Georgia forever.
Yeah. So now I guess they must have used all the space up there for all the other movies they have going on, but now they're back in California for this one.
Okay.
So big favor, when you get there on Friday, if you could scan a copy of the script and send it to us?
No problem. No problem.
Okay. Wow, that was too easy. And if you could give us a ride-on pass to the studio and just have our costumes waiting in our own dressing rooms, that'd be great.
You got it. Yeah. I'll we'll make you guys some extras in there. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Okay,
Excellent.
I want to wear the Falcon's costume since he's not wearing it.
Yeah, that's true. He's gone, right?
That's amazing.
Wow. Okay, let's move on before he notices what's going on.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, you two were lucky enough to go to the Infinity War press conference where I was not able to go. So tell me all about it.
Okay, well, crazy 24 celebrities were there. And to make sure that everyone had a chance to talk, we got a surprise moderator. It was Jeff Goldblum. And he was in his Grand Master of Ceremonies outfit. Not really. He was basically in a gray suit.
Now, he didn't run this the way normal press conferences are run.
No. Here he is explaining how this particular press conference will work.
So here's the way this is going to go. This is you've seen this from many game shows. I'm going to do this. They call this, you know what they call this? I just learned it today. This is the hopper. I'm going to take a ping pong ball, and on these balls are people's names. And if you have a question for one of those people, I will call on you. That's when to raise your hand. Or there may be a category that will suggest one of the people up here for which you may have a question, from which I'm then going to choose. You get the idea? Okay, watch and see if this. You get it? See if this how quickly this falls apart.
Jeff Goldblum was absolutely amazing and such a surprise. I was so happy. This is like no other press conference I had ever been to in my life. It was so much fun.
I agree. And I was sitting second row, right over on the right side where Jeff Goldblum was. So, like, he was right there, and as soon as he walked out, he started eyeing me because I was wearing my red knit, like, fun El Huffer design capey thing.
plug.
Oh, that's right. You got called on, didn't you?
So, yes, funny you should say that. I got to ask the fourth question. So here is what happened.
So you can ask a question. If you have a question for somebody who wears a cape, I see you waving your hand. You've got somewhat of a cape on yourself, a knit affair. I'm throwing in this ball. There you are.
All right. Hello, I'm Sarah Woloski from Skywalking through Neverland, and I have a question for Chris Hemsworth, because I'm a big Thor fan. What scene did you find most challenging to film for this movie, and why? Was it because of the people in it? Was it because of the director? Or was it, just anything like that?
It's all very difficult because of the directors and the people in it, this whole film. It's an awful experience, so... Myself, Jeff, and Tom are going back to our own movies from now on. The most difficult... The first day was what you've seen on the trailers. It was Thor meeting the Guardians, and it felt like kind of first day at school for me, because they all knew each other, and I didn't, so I was a new kid. And they'd all been shooting, and I hadn't. And I had some weird sort of nervous butterflies floating around my body. And but it was... But I squeezed them out of me, Chris Pratt gave me a big hug, and all the butterflies flew to my ears. And we had this whole film for me was I felt like a fan and meeting a lot of these people and the characters that I'd watched on screen and admired, and so to be on screen with them as Thor, but as Chris also was pretty damn exciting.
So. Okay, so funny enough, Jeff Goldblum was like, he'd throw certain lottery balls back to the people who got to ask the question.
Oh, see, if I had known all this, I would have called in as a no-show.
I know. Well, we have a story on that too. on the no-show thing, why you couldn't make it.
Oh.
Okay, so first of all, I have this lottery ball in my hand right now, and it's white. It says, "Where's a cape?" on it, and woohoo! This is my Jeff Goldblum, Chris Hemsworth lottery ball.
Oh, wait,
Yay.
it actually did have writing on it. For some reason, I thought this was all made up in his head.
Oh, no. And in fact, if you went up to that lottery ball beforehand and took pictures, which I did, right up close, you could see all the names on there and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all like little stickers on the balls, but I have mine. So
Okay.
amazing. Okay, so Richard, we have to go into this story because I was at this press conference. I was waiting to see these 24 Avengers, as was Joe. And meanwhile, you started texting me something because you had a job that just came through that week.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to see all these Avengi, but I got to be an Avenger.
Yes.
And I got called in for a job to play Thor on the James Corden show. The Late Show with James Corden. Like, well, all right. They didn't tell me what it was at first, but if I can't go to the press conference, I'll at least play Thor. And they get us to the set and say, this is what's going to happen. James Corden's going to drive around Los Angeles, and you can see
in a tour bus.
The clip we posted on our Skywalking through Neverland Facebook group. So here he is. Here's James Corden driving around LA with a bunch of passengers and a big tour bus. And those passengers happen to be the cast of the Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, so that's what they were doing as we were
That's
waiting for
amazing.
them, Joe, at the press conference. We
That's
were waiting to
amazing.
see the real Thor. Richard was dressed as Thor, being watched by the Avengers. Like, how like small world crazy mind blown is that?
That's crazy.
And I'm trying to text Sarah. I just saw the group you're going to see in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Literally.
Wow.
When you see the show, when you see the clip on our Facebook group, yeah, I'm in it for about 8 or 9 seconds.
Yep.
We shot for 6 hours. Well, I was there for 6 hours, shot for 3 minutes, and you'll see 9 seconds.
Yep.
That's how the film industry works. Welcome to television.
But I just thought that was funny because, you were dressed as Thor and I was waiting to see Thor and I asked Thor a question. It's all about Thor, really.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And I think I may have even confused Chris Pratt because he looked down and said, "Hey, are those the real Avengers?"
Look behind you, they're the real Avengers. Woo! I was wondering why they weren't on a bus.
Yep.
There was an Iron Man there and a Hulk and a Captain America.
And then you as Thor.
And then me.
Nice.
So, see, even Chris Pratt gets confused between me and Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, and yes.
We'll let that one go. All right.
Well, okay. So the press conference went on, and now, unfortunately, this press conference happened before any of us had seen the film, except for, of course, probably the directors. So most of the cast and then all of the press, we had not seen this film. So when Jeff Goldblum picked the lottery ball with Kevin Feige, all of the press, we all got pretty excited. I don't know, Joe, did you raise your hand to ask any questions?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. But looking back, I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah, because it was actually a good press conference for us to ask questions, because usually there's a moderator who asks them all questions first, and then we, the press, get like the final 5 questions or something. Well,
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum did pick a member of the press, and Kevin was asked what is used to ground these movies in their origins.
You will not be surprised to hear it's the comics. It's the comics that we look at usually when there is just the notion of let's do an Iron Man movie or let's have the audacity to try to do a version of the Infinity Gauntlet. It starts with those comics and us beginning to rip pages out or rip copies of pages out, put them on the walls and start to be inspired. And in every single movie we've made, up to and especially Infinity War, there are direct images, storylines, rarely, but sometimes actual lines of dialogue that come from those pages that we've put up around our development room for inspiration. And with Infinity War in particular, when there were so many characters and so many threads of storylines from so many movies that we could have pulled from or could have used as inspiration, and we did, we kept going back to, and I think we've released some behind-the-scene videos and things, and you can see the giant omnibus of the Infinity Gauntlet there with all sorts of dog-eared pages and Post-its in there from moments. And after everybody sees the movie, we can talk more specifically about what those moments were. Most of them were surrounding Mr. Brolin's Thanos portrayal that came directly from Jim Starlin's work there. So it is always a guide point. It's a North Star for us as we lead these giant productions into reality, right from those books and where it all started.
All right, now I want to know what exact comic scenes they used for this movie. Like what scenes were pasted on their development wall that they actually grab some shots from.
That is a great question. I know that the end shot with the Thanos looking out at the sunset, if you look closely, there's a scarecrow there in his farm. And that scarecrow is in the comics. It's a scarecrow of Thanos, actually. So that I know that was used. And also the finger snap going to all white, that's also definitely in the Infinity War. It's in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. That's right. Yeah. It's in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. And I'm sure there's a few other ones. However, I'm sure you guys weren't expecting this. But after rewatching the movie a second time, I actually thought that there's another similarity to another movie. This movie shares a lot of similarities to the 1986 Transformers animated movie.
What?
Probably more so than you would think. The 1986 Transformers movie was about this character. What was his name? His character called Unicron, and Unicron was this like planet-sized character that was looking to harvest all other planets and their life forms for his existence. And it had the same kind of plot line where a lot of the Autobots go to different places and fight these different threats. And they even meet like these other Transformers, this character named Wheelie and Junkion. And those are like the Guardians of the Galaxy. It shares a lot of similarities, even to the point where one of the main character in the Transformers movie, Optimus Prime, he ends up dying and he turns into a gray husk, which is exactly what happens to Vision as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, so if you actually put those two movies side by side, there's more similarities taken from the Transformers 1986 movie than there are actually from the comic book.
Wow. And I remember hearing from a lot of young boys that age that death of Optimus Prime really like traumatized them.
Well, I was one of them. Yes, it absolutely did.
Wow.
Yeah, I recall seeing this film in '86, but I was
You're too old.
Yeah, I was a little too old for Transformers, and a friend of mine wanted to see it, and I just wasn't into Transformers, so it's like, okay, he's a big robot, and he's dead, so when's lunch?
And I was too young, and I was a girl, so...
Yeah. But now, it has more impact on me now than it did back then.
Yeah, now I'm interested to see it. Wow.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in it that you'll be able to notice. A lot of the themes that are very similar. Mm-hmm. But I think it has more in common with that than I've seen with anything else.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to bring up one final question in the press conference. Now, it was almost an hour long, but like we said, we got some interesting questions and answers that didn't really pertain to the movie, like Chris Pratt talking about bass fishing.
Yes, that was my favorite part of the press conference. That was amazing, and he did it like he was like, "So I can't talk about anything," but then he goes into this bass fishing thing, but he does it for like 5 minutes.
Yes,
it's hilarious.
We'll play a bit of that right here.
Hi, Chris. I was just wondering how it feels for Star-Lord, for Peter Quill, to be seeing Earthlings for the first time in almost 30 years.
That's a good question. It borders on, might be best for you to see it, so I'm going to talk about bass fishing, okay? April, as you know, is a big month for right now, my pattern's like a 8.5-inch salamander, Berkeley Power salamander, using like a chartreuse, yeah.
So we did get one interesting question here posed to Zoe Saldana, and she was asked how Thanos pushed her portrayal of Gamora.
Well, echoing what Dawn was saying, that besides, these kinds of movies carrying so much action and entertainment and visual effects that really cater to all of our senses, we wouldn't be what we are, I think, in the Marvel universe if it wasn't for those emotional beats that all of these interrelationships carry. And that obviously in this, that thread involves a relationship between parent and child. And I will speak on behalf of also Karen Gillan's character, Nebula. We had so much fun, with the arc that the Russo brothers and obviously Kevin Feige, spearheading this, with the relationship that these daughters have with their father, because they finally get an opportunity to sort of address what it was like to have a dad that's so complicated. So it was fantastic. It was great.
So I'm hoping now in Infinity War 2 that we actually see some more of this dynamic, and hopefully Nebula will have a bigger part.
Yeah.
In Infinity Gauntlet, she's the one that fixes everything.
Yeah.
But bad news, I don't think we're going to see any more of Gamora.
I don't know. I'm sad.
I think that's
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
either. I actually think the one that's going to fix everything is going to be Nebula.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think she's one of the characters that's going to stay dead.
No.
I love Gamora too, but
What's Peter Quill gonna do?
that we're going to see more another side of Peter Quill, because he keeps losing the people that he loves. And what's this going to do to him? It's going to send him down to a spiral.
Well, let me ask you guys a question about Peter Quill, because coming out of the film, what did you guys think about him? Because they could have beat Thanos if it wasn't for him.
All right, you know what? Good question, because I did walk out going, Peter Quill just messed everything up.
What did he do?
They almost got the Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos when Mantis jumped on him, and she's doing her trance thing, and he's slipping away, and the gauntlet's coming off, and then Peter Quill messes everything up because he just found out that Thanos had killed Gamora, and snaps him out of the trance, and Thanos pulls the gauntlet back on again. It's like, we're not calling you Star-Lord anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, it was heartbreaking because they were so close.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing about this, though, that we don't necessarily see in Guardians 2, though. There's obviously somewhat of a significant time jump, mainly because this relationship has grown between Gamora and Star-Lord.
Yes.
And I feel like had I seen that, and this is why I think that there should have been an extra movie in there or something, had I seen this relationship grow, I probably would have cared a little bit more. However, it still affects me mainly because I think the Thanos and Gamora story is told so well.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty upset with Peter. I wasn't too happy with his decision to ruin everything.
Right.
Yeah. I love Peter Quill, Star-Lord too, but this made me not like him anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, so close.
I also do love that the Guardians don't listen to anything he says. He was like, I told you to go right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, okay, so Joe, we were both at this press conference, but you had some one-on-ones.
I did.
Some of these characters. Is there anything you can say, like anything that jumped out at you from your one-on-ones?
So, mind you, and Sarah, you know this, is that none of us got to see the movie ahead of time. So this was a little bit more difficult of a situation of asking questions about a movie that they couldn't give me answers to. So I did find out what gem everybody would choose if they could choose a gem.
Oh, excellent.
Anthony Mackie says the brother gem, which is, I jokingly asked, is that the soul gem? And then he said yes. So that was a lot of fun. And then there was also, I asked them if they could play any character besides their own, who would it be? And they all answered that question. Mostly everybody chose Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, in particular, a lot of people chose Groot, but I have a feeling it's because they said it's an easy day of work.
Yeah.
We're going in to say 3 words. But I did talk to Kevin Feige, and he did talk to me a lot about what's coming up with Marvel. First of all, they're not going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. They're not going to do Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con.
Wow.
They've gotten just too big for Hall H.
Well, they're gonna be more so celebrating the 10-year anniversary.
Oh.
So they're going to be doing a lot of smaller things, but more of a tribute to all that stuff. But they won't be in Hall H announcing any new projects.
Okay.
He also talked to me about possible characters that are going to be coming, and he doesn't call it Phase 4. He calls it Post Phase 3.
Wow.
He's very particular to say Post Phase 3. So he did not call it Phase 4, but he did say that Nova Corps movie was in its immediate. They're kind of trying to fast track that. A Moon Knight movie, which is another character that they're trying to do, and a movie called The Eternals, I believe.
Wow.
Which is another space-based character with Thanos is one of them, but it's another space-based type of thing.
That's interesting information. And then just in terms of your interactions with the cast, was there any particular cast member or members that stuck out to you as just good people?
Tom Holland is great. So I love talking to Tom. And he's known as the leak in Marvel. He's known for giving away big spoilers. So I did ask him I know that we get to see the Iron Spider suit in this movie, but have you thought about putting on the black symbiote suit, which is the Venom symbiote?
Yes.
And it totally catches him off guard, and you can tell that he's kind of like just kind of blown away. Now we get to see your first full-on Iron Spider suit.
We do.
Wearing the Iron Spider suit. How excited are you about that? But how excited are you also to possibly wear the black symbiote suit eventually down the line sometime?
The black
One suit at
symbiote
a
suit
time.
hasn't even been in a discussion.
Well, it's in the
at all.
We're having a discussion, Tom, about the black symbiote.
But now we're having a discussion about it, but it hasn't not in the Disney studios has it been
fishing for a spoiler.
It hasn't been discussed, the black symbiote suit yet. Maybe it will be in the future, we don't know.
And then sitting next to him is Benedict Cumberbatch, and he's like, my spider senses feel a spoiler coming. And he's like, and then he stops him. It's pretty funny. It actually became like a meme somewhere, so it's pretty
Whoa.
funny. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so now we know that Mark Ruffalo likes to spoil, and Tom Holland likes to spoil.
Yeah, Tom and Sarah, from the press conference, he's like, I can't say anything. Marvel's told me not to say anything.
Yes.
So Tom is great.
Okay. Well, where do you go from here?
I know.
But we wait 1 year and 1 day until Avengers Infinity War Part 2, Section 3, Paragraph A hits theaters at a theater near you.
So, Joe, where can our Skywalkers find you on social media?
That hashtag Joe is I'm on Twitter, and you can check me out over at ScreenRant.com and that hashtag show.com.
And also your one-on-ones, you post those on YouTube, is that correct?
I don't. I think ScreenRant does. They post those. I post those on Facebook.
And you do pretty much one-on-ones with everybody in like the film industry.
Yeah. I kind of do. And it's so funny because I completely fell into that job by accident. But so that's why sometimes I think to myself, like, why am I here?
Yeah. And you're going to be sitting with the cast and crew of Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I myself am deeply jealous.
Hey, but you'll be there in spirit. And if you have any questions, or if any of your fans have questions for the cast, let me know, and I'll be sure to get those in.
Excellent. Yeah. So we can tweet them at you at that hashtag Joe.
That hashtag Joe. Yeah, just tweet those solo questions for me, and I'm interviewing pretty much the whole cast: Donald Glover, Amelia Clarke, Alden Ehrenreich, Ron Howard, even the Vision himself, Paul Bettany.
Wow. Cool.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. All right.
Well, so many questions coming to mind, but we got to wrap this one up before we begin another summer blockbuster spectacular episode. All right, Joe, thank you very, very much for coming back once again and sharing your thoughts for Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys are amazing.
Okay, we're going to end on that.
But this does put a smile on my face.
Shout outs. Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photobombed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
Okay, time for shout-outs. First, we're going to head to Twitter, where Amanda Bakken tweeted out a Skywalker selfie. So she is at Amanda B_B8 on Twitter, and she tweeted out a photo of herself in the Her Universe friendship jacket, which is what I call that Poe jacket. And she said, running errands for work, enjoying that it is finally spring in New England, listening to at Skywalking Pod, hope you got your BB-8 backpack back. I suspect I will find out when I turn the car back on. And rocking my Her Universe Poe jacket. Hashtag Skywalker selfie. Hashtag flaunt your world. Hashtag Star Wars.
Do you know what spring in New England means?
What?
Well, 40 degrees.
Yeah, right?
40 degrees and a light flurry. That's spring.
Well, being able to wear long sleeve shirts out.
Maybe shorts.
Okay.
Long sleeve shirt or vice versa. That's spring in New England. But yes. I'm sure by this point you've already heard the rest of the show. And yes, I did get my backpack back.
Yes.
Always those darn backpacks. Just gotta go without backpacks from now on.
She was, of course, talking about episode 210, where we had lost your backpack on Indiana Jones at Disneyland.
We're at Disneyland, and the cart went one way, my backpack went the other way.
Mm-hmm. Centrifugal force.
All right. This just in. My cousin Mark Arsenal says on Facebook, no way, it's in the 80s. And he's in Burlington, Massachusetts.
Oh.
The 80s?
Wow.
Well, yeah.
It's not even the 80s here.
No, it's like 65 degrees here in Long Beach.
It's nice.
When does that ever happen?
I don't know. But Amanda Bakken did use the hashtag Skywalker selfie. So Skywalkers, if you want to have your shoutouts read, then please tag us on Twitter, and you can use the hashtag Skywalker selfie and then post a photo of whatever you're doing. If you're at a stoplight, if you happen to be cleaning the kitchen, if you happen to be digging out a lake under your house with a pail, just please post that photo and hashtag Skywalker selfie. Now, Amanda also used the hashtag Flaunt Your World, which is the hashtag that her universe uses, so Ashley Eckstein uses, or wants you to use, on social media so that you can be posted on her actual website. So the heruniverse.com website, if you use that hashtag, your photo will like pop up on her website, and it's really cool. So, speaking of Flaunt Your World and her universe, I want to give a big shout out to Ashley Eckstein. Now, Richard and I went to the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood to see Infinity War last week. And before it started, we were there very early, and we wanted to check out the huge Hot Topic store at Hollywood and Highland, because all the big Hot Topic stores get more merchandise, of course. So we were there, and we had to check out the new Her Universe and Our Universe solo Hot Topic collection, and we found these jeans that on Twitter she had only teased the back pocket of. So you didn't know what the jeans looked like. Were they shorts? Were they jean shorts? Were they jean, jeans? And we found out that they were bell-bottom jeans. So just completes the whole 70s look of that solo collection.
All right, I'm still not on board with the whole rainbow tie-in with Solo.
It's just very 70s. I think that's just what it is.
Yeah, I know in the 70s, girls had those little rainbow stickers. They put them on their desks at school, on their notebooks.
Yeah.
But I'm just not connecting. Maybe as a guy, I'm not connecting with that rainbow tie-in with this look. Yeah.
Okay.
If it had been like iron-on decals, I would have been all over this.
Well, what's interesting is, like, especially on the track pants, which are blue and then has a rainbow stripe down the side, and it's not the full colors of the rainbow. I think it's red, yellow, like blue and green, maybe? So it's 4 colors. But the falcon is at the bottom of the pants, so it's like, it's like the falcon's making the rainbow.
Since this is our Marvel episode, you got to distinguish between the Millennium Falcon and Falcon in the Avengers. Because right now I'm thinking, what is Falcon doing on Solo pants?
Well, it's the Millennium Falcon.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yes.
Is it just me, everybody?
Yeah. Well, it's a cute collection, and so I shared that picture of the full pic of the bell-bottom jeans, and also of Richard wearing the Han Solo jacket, because that's one of the very first Our Universe items, so that men can wear Her Universe items as well. And Her Universe immediately shared those pictures, retweeted them, because as of that date, Hot Topic and Her Universe had not formally announced the Solo collection. So I think anyone who was posting pictures on social media of the collection before it came out, she was like retweeting. It's like, oh, I can't, the media isn't ready to go, or the marketing isn't ready, but you guys have found the stuff. So, woohoo! So thank you, Her Universe, for sharing our picture.
All right. Anything else?
Yes. I'm going to head over to our Skywalking Facebook group. Now, once again, our Facebook group is a great place not only to just talk with us, because we also post a lot of posts and comment on a lot of posts, but it's a great way to get to know other Skywalkers who listen. It's a very safe space. It's a closed group. So our Skywalkers find awesome things to share that Richard and I would never know about if not for them. So Dennis Keithley posted a photo of Ron Howard next to the
Yoda statue at the Presidio in San Francisco.
Yeah, and above that picture, this is on a TV, above it is this NFL, draft picks. So here he says, I know the Skywalkers aren't the biggest sports fans, but I'm at the NFL draft this weekend, and Ron Howard and friends helped make a pick for the 49ers in the 4th round. So this is something we would have never found out. So thank you, Dennis, for making us aware that Star Wars is everywhere.
I just wish I knew what he was talking about.
Well, okay, so NFL draft picks, so like for the NFL football, so the National Football League, how players are put into, how new players especially are put into different teams, is they're all basically laid out on a board. And so one team has the first pick and they go, I want you. It's like how you pick teams in sports at school. You know, all the kids are in a row and you have the team captains and they have to pick.
Oh, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and we're always like the last picks because we suck, unless it's soccer. So yeah. So that's kind of how the NFL draft works. So I guess round 4, so all the teams go through and pick their players, and then you have round 2, and you have round 3.
Right, and then there's a picture here with Chewbacca, 2 stormtroopers, R2-D2.
Yeah.
This mascot-looking pirate thing.
And then a boy in I'm guessing that's a 49ers jersey, since this was picking for the 49ers.
You know what, like you were saying, we wouldn't have seen this, so Dennis Keithley, thank you very much for posting this.
Yeah. It opened up our world.
All right, with that, let's go ahead and wrap up episode 211 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Joe Decklemeier, and of course all you Skywalkers who joined us this week either on Facebook Live or are listening now. We love it, and we thank you for listening every single week.
And then just to remind everyone to head on over there to YouTube and visit our YouTube Skywalking Through Neverland channel, because we have so many great things over there. We have Disney Star Wars Galaxy Edge updates. We'll go over there and record the construction in progress. We have press conferences.
This week, one of our latest videos is the Infinity War press conference, where you can hear me ask Thor a question, and you can also hear Jeff Goldblum call on me, so yay, it's exciting.
We have press conferences, we have Planet of the Apes discussion panels, we have lots and lots of great stuff for everybody.
So head on over, subscribe, youtube.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland.
And to find some more great stuff, head on over there to retrozap.com, where you can find some great shows like Brews and Blasters,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Case Files,
Animaniacast,
The Deucecast Movie Show,
Techno Retro Dads,
and Talking Apes TV.
Not anymore. Now it's just Talking Apes.
Oops! I've been saying that for years, so okay.
And on our most recent episode, where we cover the convention Monsterpalooza, we go into the screening I had seen of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Ooh.
And little did I know up until now that the name Talking Apes is said in the film 7 times.
Whoa!
They say Talking Apes. Look at that Talking Apes over there. Look at all those Talking Apes. Remember those Talking Apes? I'm in the theater going, oh my goodness, look at all these shout-outs back in 1972.
Which film was this again?
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
That's the one that was filmed in Century City?
Yes.
Like part of the...
Yes.
Okay.
When it was all new and futuristic.
It was very futuristic. Wow. Well, you can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at jedinews.co.uk and fanthatracks.com. So Skywalkers, if you want to reach out to us during the week, we are on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram. We also have our lovely Facebook group, which you can request to join. So just search Facebook for Skywalking. We'll probably pop up. And you can email us. We are share@skywalkingthrough-neverland.com. Apple Podcasts or Stitcher reviews are also greatly appreciated. So head on over there and give us a review.
We'd love to hear what you think. And like we always say, we're not going to tell you to leave 5 stars or just leave as many stars as you like. But we want to definitely hear from you and what you think of the show.
Now stay tuned for bits of conversation that didn't make it into the show. And also some loopy discussions that may have occurred that you won't hear on the main show. And more bloopers right after the end credits. Now, if you happen to get the Infinity Gauntlet, make sure to use it wisely and
never dissolve all your friends into powder. And then, always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. Go ahead, snap your fingers. You'll never be a Thanos like this.
I've never, ever... Well, if I had the Infinity Gauntlet, I would say it's all about clapping your hands, and the gauntlet would do what I say.
Galacticus.
Go.
Galacticus.
It says Galactus. But...
Galactus.
Okay. Huh.
Galactus.
That makes sense.
Boom. Christopher Marino says in the comics he's connected to the... Yeah, Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer are both locked in the Soul Gem.
Whoa.
Yes, and Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, instead of Hulk smashing through Doctor Strange's lair, it's Silver Surfer.
Lair? What do you mean by lair?
The New York, his headquarters. There's a name for it, but I forgot what it was.
Okay. Oh.
You remember in the beginning of Infinity War, Hulk comes smashing down from that planet. I forget I can't pronounce.
Well, they were kind of they were on Thor's planet, right? Thor and Loki.
I thought it was Asgard too, but it wasn't. It was it
was another place.
Volmortian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something else. All right.
So instead of Hulk coming smashing down, it was Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer catches Doctor Strange up with what's going on, and it all goes from there.
Interesting.
And they're all in this Soul Gem. And there's a guy with like a big head and arms, like a puppet.
And Christopher says, Sanctum Sanctorum. Thank you, Christopher. He smashed it into the Sanctum Sanctorum.
That's the one. So that's why we didn't want to get too...
Because it's so involved, my goodness. Wow. We would like to thank Joe Decklemeier, and of course, all you Skywalkers who... Whoops.
Animaniac.
I know.
Animanicast.
Animani.
Animanicast.
Because it's Animaniacs.
I never watched that either.
Oh, okay.
Animanicast. Now, stay tuned for bits of conversation that... Oh.
I'll say this.
Okay.
Here he is explaining how this press conference... But here he is explaining how this press conference will work. All right,
edit this part in here first.
Okay.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow.